Hello, welcome back to Up the Villa, joined by Earl. How you doing, mate?
I'm very well, thanks.
Really good stuff. So I'm going to talk about a little bit of a subject that is on my mind, and it's regarding youth players at Aston Villa. It's regarding the next one of our own, and I think it's quite a difficult one sometimes because we are a very intense team. We've got an intense manager who wants excellence, strives for the best, leaves no stone unturned, and he's very meticulous and thorough within his habits of what he wants from his team. And I'd probably say playing youth has probably been one of the only things that I'm sort of like, just wish we'd just see a minute for him, or give him 5, or give him 10, and things like that, really. So how important do you think minutes to youth players are, or do you feel like I only want to see youth players when there's more of a purpose and a reason?
Yeah, there are a few ways to look at it. I guess I think from the youth players' perspective and for their development, I think 100% is it's all about minutes, isn't it? Minutes on the pitch. I think is the fastest way for improvement in terms of the player themselves. But obviously, we've got to balance that with kind of the team's objectives, I guess, and kind of where we're at in the league. We're back in the top four, going for Champions League again. We're fighting at the top end of Europe, Europa League, hopefully. So it's just a shame we're out of the Carabao Cup. I guess that's usually one that is good for minutes for the youth players. But yeah, I think if we can get more minutes in here and there, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, like you say, it's nothing but beneficial for those players, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think Premier League, I'd probably say, is completely out the question. I don't see any young player apart from maybe Hemmings in the middle getting a spell of minutes. That's probably the only position, because I think everywhere else I'd probably say it is very difficult. But I think the benefit of minutes is sometimes quite important. I've got 3 things written down here now, and some of the things that you alluded to is growth of a player. I think is important to kind of see what they're all about in a big occasion. Can they handle it? I think there was that game, was it against Marseille, when we played Hemmings in the middle in
Yeah,
pre-season,
yeah,
and you're thinking, right, he handled himself pretty well. We got smashed, but he didn't really do anything wrong. And you thinking, why, he looked really good, and I think the pre-season, everyone looked at him and thought, very good touch, control, awareness, really bright. Got injured, and you're thinking, he could probably have been involved in the match day squad. I also feel like the pathway is sometimes important. We do need to kind of have a pathway if we are signing young players, and we yet to see what Olabe is going to do. But a pathway and a vision and a view to maybe making the first team. And the last one, which I actually feel like is really important, and something that's just Alex Ferguson did this really well, didn't he? When he just whacking a player, and then all of a sudden he's played for Man United 5 times, and he's worth like 25 million, or back in the day maybe it was like 10 or 5 million. But something similar to that, if you're getting minutes at a young age and you've played Europa League, and you're like, he's played Europa League. He went away to Fenerbahce and played minutes, So I think that's really important as well. And I do believe that this season that there is an opportunity, especially in this competition, because I watched a lot of this competition last year, and I watched Spurs a lot, and I watched them utilize it and give players minutes. I think there was that lad that went to Rangers, and he sort of had a bit of a breakthrough season last year at Spurs. His name eludes me, and he played out wide on the wing. Mikey Moore.
yeah,
He played minutes. a couple of Premier League minutes, and went out on loan, etc. So played games in the Europa League. So I do kind of think it is important. Do you want to add anything on like the benefit of some of these players getting at least like a 5 minute, 10 minute spell?
Yeah, well, what I will say as well with the extended Europa League phase format having the the number of games that are played. I think I might have said this a while ago, but it is quite big to get these wins under our belt. So maybe if we've got a few like less lower priority games towards the end of the the phase when we're already qualified, that's then prime time to put these kind of players in. So that's why I think it's so important to get these wins like the young boys under our belt. Hopefully,
Yeah, and
just gives that chance then.
Yeah, I've got the likely four written down, who for me are the ones that I feel, well, you can kind of just look at a team sheet and go, these are the likely ones. So the likely ones, we've got Ben Brogio. I think he was on the bench for the Tel Aviv, and I think he was on the bench for Liverpool as well. So he's been involved. We've got Hemmings, who, for me, I really rate, and I rate very highly, and I actually feel like in that middle of the park, he could get something. I do believe he could get something. We've got Jimo Aloba, who I actually felt like I felt like we'd see him a bit more this season, but for some reason we haven't. And then the last one that we have seen minutes from is Burrows, when he was getting smashed about against Crystal Palace, and it looked like a little kid playing against like a bunch of adults. So he has given minutes to Burrows. Would you agree that those are the likely ones?
Yeah, 100%. I don't think we didn't see Brogio in pre-season, did we? I think he was injured, but yeah, from the youth games, he's looked next level, to be honest. But yeah, I think I was impressed with all of those other three in pre-season. And I think Jimo and Hemmings probably physically look a lot more ready than Burrows, but Burrows is lively, isn't he? I did like him. Very, very lively getting around. So yeah, I'd pick those four as well.
And it is all about development, it's about, and I think Emery's good at it, and I think Villa are quite good at it with a lot of the loans that we send players out on loan, and they can build and grow. And there's one name that will always crop up, and whenever you've got a striker out of form, it's like, why don't we just play Rory Wilson? Well, unfortunately, he needs to grow, and he needs to, be football cup, play men's football. Harry Kane didn't just start scoring for Spurs. He was at Millwall, and he went down, he scored goals down the leagues. And I think that it's important that their development is correct, because it's just important. And I mean, some players can develop really quick and grasp an opportunity and grow as a player. You look at a player, for example, like Cameron Archer, when he was scoring in those Papa John trophies, and went out on loan and was scoring goals in the Championship, and that he then stays around the first team. And it's important that they do that. And then you'll get some that just score and drift and don't ever come back and make it. So I think it's important. But we'll finally finish on then. Oh, why is it that backing one of your own is like such a big thing for football fans? Why is it so important? Why do football fans regard it as like special?
Yeah, it's good to see, isn't it? Football is it's a very international game nowadays. But sometimes you forget. It's Aston Villa. It's a place, and you just when you see kind of one of your own representing the club, it's you can see yourself in them a bit. I feel like you can see yourself playing, for your club. It feels like it's almost like you're kind of living out your own dreams a little bit by watching the local players play. I think that's how I see it anyway.
Yeah, so, it is important, and you know, you do root for them a lot, don't you? It's like every player, but I do think it is a bit different. There's a willingness for them, and you really want them to do really well. So I just thought it'd be interesting to just have a little bit of a chat and a discussion about youth players, because since Ramsey's left, we haven't really got sort of an academy player. Like, I think, you know, Rogers is from the area, and I actually kind of feel like McGinn's one of our own, like, because he's been here so long. But you know, just that young player that can come through, I think is important, and I like it, and I do think it would be nice to just see someone that can do that. So Villa fans, in the comment section, let us know your thoughts. Do you think it's important? Do you not think it's important? Be good to hear your thoughts. So cheers, everyone. Up the Villa.